Hello, I'm Dale, and welcome to joining together with us, Mike and I, for our show number 139,564 in a row.
Yeah, it seems like that, doesn't it?
It does
Yes, and it looks
sometimes.
like the forecast is that taxes may be going up. Is that
Yes,
true?
they're always going up in this world of ours where we live in Josephine County and Grants Pass City. Taxes are going up. And over here is a panel of people who are talking about this is one of the few pictures from inside their version of the little back room at the city. And you know that I have not been able to get my hands on the list of people who are on the sales tax committee. I wonder why. And
Did you?
also,
How did you get a hold of those embargoed photographs?
yes, it had to be done. They had to sneak the picture. No, this is a
In
still from.
clandestine fashion.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was a drone that was flying in the corner. It looked
Ah,
like a
yes.
moth, and nobody could tell the difference. No, in this case, also,
That's the
I
kind of
tried to get
budget we have, people.
I tried to get a list of the members, and that's not going to happen. There seems to be a little lag tonight on our show. Okay, it doesn't match our personalities. But at any rate, if you're watching this and it seems that we're in slow motion, this is good news, and we're going to tell you why in a moment why it's good news. In addition to that, it would be wonderful to get the audio recordings because they do audio recordings back there. That's not going to happen. No, no, no. They're not going to let us have those things. So I mentioned to you last time that what we were doing for a little while here on our show is we were ripping it up, but I mean, we were putting up Grants Pass City Council meetings well before they had them up. And sometimes 2 or 3 weeks before RVTV, their contractor, used to be that for the county, before they'd get them up. And we'd have them available for you the same day or the next day. And they were good looking, not such great camera work, but that's a nicety. And so I worked out a deal with them so we could go in and we could take with me one of these tiny little thumb drive deals here. And then they could give it in the highest possible quality and we could deliver the high quality to you so you can keep track of what's going on with your city. It's kind of the opposite of what Simon Hare says, Mr. Matthews, is going to cost you a lot of money to keep track of what we're doing. He did say that. So this was better. With the city, it was better. So David Reeves found out that we were doing this. Oh, that's the end of that. So David Reeves says, well, we're not going to be making that available to you anymore. And I, as nicely as possible, said, well, it's part of public transparency, right? I mean, we like everybody to see what the city council is up to, and it's mostly you talking at length. And then, I did not point out to him, which he probably already knows, that we play back the videotape and laugh about it. But at the very least, you get a chance to see it. And if you don't want to watch it on the show, I hate this show because you're not getting immediately to the news I wish to see. The news I wish to see is in 18-minute, just go to the video and just watch the video, and then you don't need to wait for anything. I demand that it happens immediately because I am your what? You're watching it for free. Just relax, okay?
Yeah,
But nope.
you just try that with Megyn Kelly and see what it gets you.
Yeah. So, Brian Williams. So I went in to go get the next one. The lady says, "Come on in." She's a very nice lady, Donna Anderson, and boy, he was there right away. This David Reeves, and it's like, we're not going to be making that available to you anymore. And I go, well, why? Well, because it takes so long to do it. Well, Mike and I know that when you stick this in the computer and you say, please make a copy, you go and you do something else because it's going to chunk away, chunk, and then it's going to give it to you. And even if it's 5 programs and it takes 20 minutes, so what? You don't have to even watch it. You don't even have to remember it's there. You can come back the next day or 10 minutes from now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take you any time. Well, it takes him an hour and a half to do it. And I go, oh. Then I said, well, how about if we were to pay for that? You see, these videos are not available through David Reeves, who's apparently making all the decisions for the transparency initiatives of Grants Pass City. They're not available at any price. That's taking a page from the book of Cheryl Walker. We used to be able to get DVDs from the county. that would have on there all of the videos at fairly high quality. Soon as Cheryl Walker got into that, we're not going to be making those available to you at any price. You're already paying to have them done. We're sure not going to be making them available to the public. We're the most transparent government, county government in the world, but we're not going to be making anything available to people such as you, actually in the public. So what's going to happen tonight is we did the very best we could to capture this off the air. Mike doesn't like this, but I mean, if we have to, we'll point a camera at the screen like this, and we'll videotape the screen. But we're going to get to this stuff, right? And I decided,
listen, it's not that bad. I mean,
oh, brother.
It isn't as good as what we were getting before, but at least we have it there. To me, substance, matters here. I
am dedicated to giving our audience the best possible quality that we can. That's why we have
for the price that they pay.
Top-notch comedy every night. See, by our staff of writers. Okay.
When are we going to start doing that?
Yeah. So right now, apparently with his comments, so I have a little thing at the bottom of each of the city videos saying that it's just a little tiny writing that says top quality video is available, but due to David Reeves, you're not going to get a chance to see it. It's very nice. It's fun. And it'll be on every dang video. It'll mention David Reeves by name. Thank you, David Reeves. We're going to, but just before we get into that, this is the part I hate about the show. They never get to the part I want to see. Just relax. Okay, just before we get to that, this is the meeting of the secret committee, apparently, because they won't tell you who they are. Looking at the Daily Courier, at the front page, you can't read this, but take my word for it. It's actually there. Or as that lady says, you don't have a website, so it's not really there. You're not really watching this. None of this is true. It was a front page article about how our bridges in Josephine County are collapsing. They're about to collapse. They've already collapsed, and they're collapsing while you're reading that newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very interested. Mike, do you recall what it was that Rob Brandis from the county's Public Works Department said about why it was essential, in his opinion, and in Simon Hare's opinion, and now all three commissioners, that we not take any money out of the road reserve, which we've done in the past, which we could do now, for that emergency funding for the sheriff? Why was it absolutely essential? There was no emergency.
Because if we did take that money out, they would not be able to meet their minimum contribution to whatever bridge or whatever they had to replace because of the earthquake that's going to come and wipe all our bridges out.
That's right. We're going to burn that bridge when we come to it. Okay, so they were talking about bridges. Well, what would happen if bridges fell down, and what would we do? And a number of us in the audience were saying, wait a minute, if bridges fall down, wouldn't the federal government or the state be taking the tax money that we already paid them and returning it part to us so that we could build up our bridges? Oh, no, such things are not possible. Why? It's all up to us. Here it is on the jump page. When there's a thing on the front page, then they jump back to like page 8 or whatever. Here it is, and here's what it says. This is Rob Brandis talking, and he's talking about his assistant. Since Chuck and I took over, we've been averaging about just a second, let me make this a bigger picture. We've been averaging about 4 bridges every 3 years that they've been repairing using their funds that they have on a yearly basis. They're replaced, like we said. Prior to that, it was fewer. Brandis said the Federal Highway Bridge Program has paid for 90% of the bills. We made a conscious decision to use the federal program, Brandis said. We apply for 2 or 3 bridges each funding cycle. Now, wait a minute.
Yeah, that sounds like
the feds are paying for this.
Right.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
In other words, that's not part of any of the money that's sitting in these budgets somewhere. This is money
No,
coming from somewhere else to pay for these projects.
that's right. And what they're paying for right now is, as it says in this article, I mean, I guess you could read the Courier. What Rob Brandis and the people from the bridge, federal bridge programs are saying is that the bridges are, some of them are crumbling, parts of them are crumbling. Yes, they are. Okay, we have that
Mhm.
all over the country. And some of the bridges, well, when they were first built several years ago, and I'm not talking about a century ago, several years ago, they built some of them a little too low, and there's new standards now, so they'd be a little higher. And so they need to rebuild the bridge.
Oh, oh, come on. That's ridiculous.
Mike, it's an emergency. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, whatever keeps your budget floating. That's what this is about. I
Now, what
just,
happened to the real emergency? The real emergency was with patrols, was with the sheriff,
yeah, yeah,
and that was an emergency. And now that emergency is
yeah.
disappeared.
Dale, you don't understand what the
Obviously
thing
not.
is here is that it depends on what we're trying to get done as to what's an emergency. And you'd think after being around here for 10 or 15 years you'd start wising up to this stuff. It's it depends on what they're trying to do as to whether or not there's an emergency going on. If they want you to vote to reach into your pocket and give them more money, then it's an emergency. As soon as you said no, it's no longer an emergency
The part that's
anymore.
strange to me, the part that's strange to me is this was an emergency for emergency funding of the sheriff. What has changed since the levy did not pass, and now the emergency is over? Do
Yeah,
we?
you don't hear them talking about all the people being imported from out of town to bring in hate and discontent and all
They're
that kind
just
of
like
stuff. You don't
ISIS,
hear
you
them
know.
talking about it.
They said that. They're
Yes.
just like ISIS. Well, okay, so now we've got a new rule. One of the rules, this is a stupid rule. One of the rules that we came up with is the less money you spend on law enforcement, I tell you it's a stupid rule, the better your situation for law enforcement is going to be. Well, now we
Yeah.
also know that if you put up a levy year after year after year, and if it's turned down, that's going to handle your emergency because there's no longer an emergency.
Oh, all right. So everyone should know that in the future, when a levy comes up in your county, turn it down, and that takes care of the emergency. And crime will actually go down. We actually have statistics that may, lend some credence to that.
We do, but let's suppose our statistics are all wrong. The OSP is full of
Hmm.
it. Everybody's lying to us. What happened to the emergency? Now that the levy did not pass, the emergency now is over. It is? How can the emergency be over?
Well, because that's how it is.
Oh, now there's a good answer. You should run for
Hey,
office,
you
Mike
know what?
Jones.
Listen, you know what? That's about as good as you're going to get because there is
Yeah.
no logic to this.
No, there's no
You
logic.
know,
Okay, there's no logic to this either. Now, we are going to talk about taxes, city taxes tonight. Boy, I'm getting a lot of lag here. I mean, I'm watching the screen and I go like this and then like this and then like this. It's very strange. Okay, so,
Mhm.
and I don't usually do that. What we did do is we filed yesterday um, with the circuit court to protest the city's tax initiative, saying that it clearly violated the Oregon Constitution and the single subject rule. Okay. And because it says, would you like kittens? Would you like sunshine? Would you like a tax? That's three subjects. And so there should be one for each of them. And it doesn't do that. So we'll appear in court on Friday, courtroom number 4 at 3 o'clock at the courthouse in front of Judge Hall. You are invited to come and laugh at us if you like, or in victory or whatever. And we will see. You never really know what judges and all are going to say, but it looks as if it's clearly against state law.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in matching with the way that we've been treated on this thing with David Reeves, when I went in yesterday to turn in these papers, because it says in there you're supposed to deliver it to the circuit court, and you're also supposed to deliver it to the person that wrote it. So I went into their office, and there showed up Mark Bartholomew, the city attorney. Now, I think we can be reasonably assured that Mark Bartholomew, the city attorney, had a major role, if not the role, in writing this thing to go on the ballot. So when I saw him, I said, "Oh, hello, sir. I am turning in this appeal on this." Okay. It doesn't mean I didn't say to him, but it doesn't mean I hate him or that, everything is a disaster or whatever. We're appealing it. We don't think that this was done right. So I said, we're turning in this appeal, and I just want to be sure it's going to the right person, because it says in there, see, Karen Firk, who is the city clerk, it's just a coincidence, Mike. She's gone. You have a certain deadline, which today by 5 o'clock. We turned it in yesterday, and it's supposed to go to her, is my understanding, but she's not here. She's on vacation. Okay. And so when I called to try to get hold of Mark Bartholomew to ask him a question, they said at the city, you'll have to check with his law firm. He's out in Medford. He won't be in here to the city till 1 o'clock. So I called his law firm, and they said, you'll have to check with the city because he's not here yet. He'll be in the city. He'll be here in Medford at 1 o'clock. That's strange. How does he do that? So I called back to the city, and I said, I'm just trying to do the right thing. So I walked in with the papers, and there the guy is. Well, what do you know? And I said, I just want to be sure I'm giving it to the right person. That's all. And he said, I don't know who the right person is, and I can't give you legal advice. Well, I'm not asking for legal advice. I just want to be sure I'm handing it to the right person. That's all. Just depositing these papers with the right person. And he said, I don't know who that is. And so I said to him, well, can you tell me who wrote this? Keeping in mind, Mark Bartholomew, the city attorney, is almost certainly the person that wrote it. He said, I don't know who wrote it.
Yeah, and listen, it should be clear that the point of this thing here is this objection that is being made on the basis of the law. So the judge is going to make a judgment as to whether or not the objection is correct in its objection, so don't blame this on Dale Matthews. Don't blame this on any of these other people that came up with this. By the way, Sandy Casanelli and Tony Webb both had, a hand in putting this objection together.
They did all of the work. They did all of the work.
Yes. Well, there you go. And that's accurate there. So in any event, this has nothing to listen. If you have a complaint about this, take it to the city and ask them why they did this incorrectly. They put this measure together wrong. Okay? So don't blame Dale Matthews, don't blame Tony Webb, don't blame Sandy Casanelli.
And sure, don't blame Mike Jones.
Right, okay. Don't blame me. I had nothing to do with it. I was just the cheering section.
Right.
But this, it's not their fault that the city attorney, I wonder how much he's getting paid, couldn't be bothered to do the things these citizens did and look up the law as to, mentioning 3 or 4 things in a measure instead of just one.
Well, one of the things that bothers me is, don't tell me you don't know who wrote this. You're the city attorney. Yes. You have no idea. That's a lie.
Yes.
Of course he knows who wrote it. Don't lie to me. Don't use your position and your salary, which I'm paying, to lie to me. That's a lie. You want to take me to court? Let's go. Okay? You know who wrote that.
Yeah, and this is kind of standard operating procedure inside local governments, and probably as you go up state and federal, the same thing. You know, they block transparency at every turn. If you're trying to get something done, it's just like David Reeves trying to make sure that people that he doesn't like, you know, he doesn't like Dale because Dale comes in there and calls him on stuff. That he doesn't want him to have the video. Let's make life harder for Dale. Who do you represent in this town? Do you just represent the people that agree with you? Do you
Apparently so.
represent the people that just want the same things to happen in this city that you want to happen? Is that who you represent here? I guess so.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to play back for you 3 pieces of video. It's the best that we could do given the circumstances. Okay.
Is this second clip in 2 pieces?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so the first one's the mayor. Now keep in mind that Mike is talking with the mayor. I don't think the mayor knew who Mike was, but Mike is talking to, you don't think so?
No,
Mike is talking to the mayor, and it's outside on First Friday. And the mayor's walking by, and Mike trips him and then helps him up and then says, and brushes him off and then socks him in the, no, that's made up. Anyway, so he talked to the mayor, and it's noisy, okay? It's noisy. It's First Friday. We can't say to the mayor, here, come to this alley at back. We've got some questions we want to ask you. We're not going to do that. Come on now.
Actually, listen, we were using a shotgun mic in this piece, and that was not the proper tool for the job in this particular situation. It's very, very noisy. It's not going to reject everything. It is pretty directional, but it's not going to reject everything. And there's, right behind the mayor is a band over there. They're doing it, whatever. And, later in this piece, there's more to it than what you're going to see here tonight. But later in it, there's, they're making all kinds of noise over there. So the right way to do it is to have, a standard dynamic microphone, and it rejects most of the ambient noise, and you just get, that's why when you see reporters on the street, that's why they're doing this. It's either that or they have everybody mic'd up with their own lapel mic. And so that's what we'll do in the future at First Friday, just because the shotgun mic is just too noisy.
So just be patient with us. We're going to play back this man on the street interview first with the mayor. He's going to explain for about a minute what this, and keep in mind, please, that of the 3 clips we're going to show tonight, 1 of them doesn't like the city sales tax, and 2 of them do. So those who say, well, you're not being fair, shut up. Okay, go ahead, Mike. Play back the mayor.
So the city's proposing a 2% sales tax to go on the ballot coming up in November.
Yeah.
And so how do you envision that is going to change things?
Well, it's certainly going to change it for some of the business owners. We have over 3,000 business owners, and it's really going to only affect about 700 or 800 the businesses. So a lot of people won't be affected by it. But they will be affected because they have to pay the tax when they go to buy something. And so what we're trying to do is just offer an alternative to always going after someone's property to make revenue for government. We just wanted to give the option there, the best option we could. We wanted to think about it so that it would be complete. The thought wouldn't be vague, it would be complete. And we could say, well, here's what we think it would look like. What do you guys think? And so we put it in front of the voters.
Okay, Mike. Now, they don't want to be vague, and so that's why they didn't include in this the wording that this is a permanent tax.
Right.
Because they're trying not to be vague, you see.
Yes. Yeah, and it's odd. Now, he's saying there's 3,000 businesses in the city, and there's only 7, or did he say county and it's only 700 of them?
I think he said 700 or 800 inside the city. It sounded like that's what he said.
Yeah, but he said there was 3,000 businesses, but only 700 of them pay the tax. And I was thinking, is there, all of these are only retail, and the rest of the businesses have to do with, don't have a retail aspect to them. They're either wholesale or they're selling stuff out of county. What do they call that? their
traded sector,
traded sector, or their service business or something like that, which is not taxed.
Well, one of the great coincidences in all this is that what we've heard is that none of the city councilors that do business in this community will be affected by this because all of their businesses are exempt. It's just a coincidence. Stop thinking anything else now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what we've heard. That must fall under the category of rumor. We don't know for sure, and good luck getting two sources on that one. But that's what it looks like at the moment. And as we comb through now, when you watch the videos here, first you're going to see one city councilor and then another city councilor talking about their views about all this. And I put up a little thing at the bottom saying who's responsible for the jumpy video. But see, tonight, here's the good news. You won't be able to tell because all of the video is jumpy because of our bandwidth challenge just this evening. So go ahead, if you will, Mike, and play the first of the two city councilor videos.
Many of the speakers today mentioned that if we pass the sales tax, it would put us in a unique position. I would argue that we've been in a unique position for 80 years as an O&C county. And now we're going to be in another unique category because you're trying to figure out now that the O&C money is going away, what do you do? So, and Curry and Josephine County are the most dependent on the O&C money of all the 18 counties in Western Oregon. They're O&C counties. Well, we've got to come up with some kind of solution. So far, it's been a patchwork solution. It's a levy. It's a jail fee. Well, Curry, you notice, hasn't found a solution either, and they've been looking too, just like we have. But this is something that would be more longer term. It would become more comprehensive. We would open the juvenile center. We would have prosecution included in this, aside from what we have now. It would gives the voters another choice. Do you want to take this longer term solution and structured this way as far as reducing your property tax, doing away with the fee, and just with the sales tax? And there's a lot of uncertainties with the sales tax. I understand that. I've been talking to a lot of merchants over the last week or so, and I share a lot of their uncertainties too. And it's scary. I think the scariest thing is that we're going to get up to the election and there's still going to be a lot of confusion about exactly what this is, because I've heard it repeated many times, the errors that have come up, like, gee, just think how much it's going to cost on a new car. Well, we don't know, it's limited to the first $1,000. But you hear that kind of stuff all the time, that they speak like gospel. And I hope all this stuff gets straightened out before it actually comes to a vote, because I think this thing deserves a fair vote. A lot of people put time into this. Staff has put time into this. Task force put time into this. Council's put time into this. I just ask that it's a fair vote when it comes to it. But I think our bosses are the people, are the residents of the city, and that's who ought to make this decision. That's why I'm in favor of putting it on the ballot. I think I would favor Resolution A also, but one thing that does bother me is that when you eliminate 1,505 businesses, you've got 756 paying the tax and 2,369 not paying the tax. So to me, that kind of seems like a matter of fairness. So it kind of bothers me a little bit that you're going to exempt 1,505 when you already had 864 exempt already. So that's just something that bothers me. I think the ballot title needs to be maybe looked at and start off with the fact that this is a sales tax. It starts off with, this will eliminate the $1.79 property tax levy, eliminate the jail utility, and oh, by the way, implement a 2% sales tax. I think this, to be more honest, I think it would be better to have the 2% sales tax up front. Just okay, by the way, it eliminates these also.
Yes. Well, and he was on to something there, wasn't he?
He definitely was. It violates the single subject rule, which is part of the Oregon Constitution, Article 4, Section 1.
Yes.
So when I went in to saw Wally Hicks, the attorney for the county yesterday, I didn't say anything to him. Someone else may have, but he looked at me and said, "This is about the single subject rule, isn't it?" Yes, it is. It's their vulnerable spot.
Yeah, I'm guessing that he read the verbiage of the measure and
Yep.
thought, well, geez, I'm probably not going to say anything out loud about the moron who put that together, but that's not good.
Probably not. Now, if you've got something to say, you can send us an email directly. You can always comment if you're watching this from our website, but you can also send us an email to
no sales tax at grantspass.com.
We've already received a couple of emails.
Oh, have you?
3 of them. Yes, since yesterday. And one of them came from out of state, from a guy in Prescott, Arizona, that says, listen, I don't live in your area, but we're fighting similar battles here with the bad county commissioners. I think they're called supervisors there, and with our local city hall. And I just want to encourage you to just keep them accountable. It doesn't mean go take them out and roast them and put honey sauce on them, something, but just, watch over them, be sure that they're doing the right things, make sure that they're obeying the law. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, now here's what Lily Morgan has to say about this same thing. Keep in mind, Lily Morgan may potentially be running for county commissioner, which is a little bit odd. I agree with her what she's saying, but she hasn't been showing up for city council meetings, a lot of them. She's just not there. So now she wants to be a county commissioner. There are times when it's a good thing that one of the commissioners is not there, but let's hear what Lily has to say on this subject.
We can't say it's not a tax on the businesses, and here's why. Because Jay said it's not a legal requirement for the businesses to pass on the tax to the consumer. We're asking these businesses to take on the debt if they don't want to pass it on to their consumers. And though this does make sense, I went to college in Seattle. I understand sales tax. We were up in the 8 and 9% when I was up there. And I stayed living up there a couple years, working in the insurance industry before moving back to Oregon. And I would drive sometimes to Tacoma to get a lower sales tax rate of the same items if I was heading somewhere, because it was, it saved me a bit of money. And I'd buy multiple items because it was cheaper than the Seattle sales tax. That's ridiculous, but I did it because there was still something in the idea of it. We have a 77% retail. That's where we've ended up after our logging went away, after our construction boom industry went away. We have retail left. How do we support our local businesses? We have an economic development plan going on. We have a business advocate, or did at least. But what are they advocating for if it's a competition for businesses to be in existence here? Because if they don't have the ability in their profit margins to pass on the tax to their consumers, they have to eat it. I don't know about you guys, but we've been inundated from almost every business that's been long-term in this community saying, please don't do it. Please don't, as Colleen said, don't divide our community. As we're coming into busy season, as far as gearing up for Christmas, businesses need to be doing what they do best, and that's selling their stuff to the consumers that need to do it. We've had a couple of a heck of a years with the fires, with everything else that's gone on, that our retail industry has taken a hit the last couple of years. You add to it, now they have to have mandatory sick leave and health insurances. The businesses haven't realized everything that's an impact on their profit yet. And for us to turn around and say, businesses, now you need to eat this cost because it's not a legal requirement to put it on your receipt and pass it on to your consumers. We can say it's not a tax on the businesses, but essentially it is. And I think that we should not put this product forward simply for the sake of getting a poll out there. I've said it before, our city residents have passed additional property tax, but we've never asked them the question, would you respond to a sales tax? Instead of rushing into this, put it on the May ballot, but instead for this November, put a question to our city voters and say, would you support a sales tax? Let's ask the question before we implement something that we can't undo. We say we're for business, but at the same time, we're making the businesses, instead of getting ready for retail season, we're making them have to fight a battle of, will I even exist next year because of how close things are? I suggest we slow it down and do it right. Who says we can't do this in May and still look in the same time frames? Let's put the question to the voters instead of, would you support this? So we know where we're at, and not just guessing with random numbers pulled out of wherever we're at. It also gives us the chance to reach out to our business community and see what they could deal with, what they could respond to, have people on the task force or other groups that are going to be directly impacted by it, and not have this system be that, hey, this is all we can come up with, and we're instead losing the faith that we've built for the last 5 years. Slow it down, do it right, get the question out there, and then come back and have knowledge before the decision of where we're facing. Yeah, it's a tough decision, but why? Our one healthy thing, the only economy you have is these downtown businesses. We don't have anything else. There's no other business for someone to go to. Yeah, Walmart's going to survive, but how many in our community have that as a living wage job? It's not that. Let's support our smaller businesses. Let's support our downtown. Let's support our businesses that are family owned, and do this right with a question instead in the fall, and then respond accordingly. That would be what I suggest.
Mike, your reactions, please.
Wow. You know, I'm for that. Listen, whatever I've heard said about Lily Morgan in the past, how she doesn't show up or whatever, at least when she shows up, she says commonsensical things.
Absolutely.
You know, apparently she's either been in business in her life, or she's talked to other people who are in business right now. And I think she's got a pretty good pulse of this thing downtown, where, you know, you've got, she knows, here's these guys, this little segment of the economy, this is all we have, and we're going to jump in our clown car and pile into the sales tax clown car, and you know, see how far that'll take us. That is really, you know, this is how blind government is. All they're thinking about is what their own, you know, their own benefit. How are we going to milk a few more dollars out of people? Hey, look, we can do this. Well, apparently they don't know anything about economic development.
Yeah, I've been accused of that. Listen, this is a lot like what's happened to many of you in the audience. How many times you've been in the situation where you're just getting over a terrible cold, and then you have a friend, hey, let's go somewhere, and you're like thinking, should I go now or give it an extra day? Give it the extra day, right? Don't be pressing it immediately, because you've probably seen the circumstance where you pressed a little too far, and then you got a little too tired, and then it all came back. We're just now starting to get out of this problem. What's the immediate thing that government jumps in and does? This local government. Let's tax the heck out of it. Let's get some money out of all this. It's too soon. It's too soon. I'm not saying it will never be the right time, okay? But I'm generally in favor of the idea, if you're going to try to be a commissioner, is to say, listen, we need a break from the property taxes. We'll pledge that during the first 4 years, you know, that I'm in office, a candidate could say, I will not back any type of property tax, additional property tax, even if it seems like a good idea, because we need a break. The city needs a break. Get their feet underneath them. You don't have to say no forever. I'm not saying no forever. I never have said no forever. But what we could do is, at least, would you please give it a break, step back a little bit. Don't be so anxious to put a bunch of new taxes on people, and let's just relax a little bit, Mike.
Well, listen, history has taught us tax burdens hinder prosperity. And when you back off on them, you get things going the other way. And this is not it's not magic here. There's a cause and effect. And so yes, I'm hoping if people in the city don't do this, really don't do this. And I mean, we're hoping that we get some action on this thing in a courtroom coming up here, and it gets shot down by the judge, and then it's questionable whether they'll have enough time to put it on the ballot in November in a different manner. Is that true, Dale?
Yes, that is true. And let me mention to you what it is that we've been doing for you if you agree with this. One is that we did challenge the constitutionality of this particular thing, okay? Because it violates the single subject rule. It does easily, and as I said with Wally Hicks, I mean, he knew immediately where their soft spot was, okay? Number two is, you may have noticed on the first video, you heard something from this guy that you've not heard before from anybody. And on the second video, you heard something from her that you've probably not heard from anybody. What Lily Morgan was talking about is the fact that you are not required as a business, you are not required to collect that tax.
Right.
Now, where's that in any article in the Daily Courier? It's kind of an important point, don't you think?
Yes, yes, but listen.
We're bringing it to you.
The only people that aren't going to take that and pass it on to the customer are people who have enough profit margin where they can take that 2% out of their profit margin. I don't know. Listen, from what I understand about retail businesses, most of them are on pretty tight margins already. They make a very little bit to get by on the products that they sell, and 2% doesn't sound like very much, but it's going to affect them because, number one, they'll have to pass it on to you. But like Lily Morgan said, she lived in an area where she had the option in two different places. I can stock up here, and then I come back over here with the stuff that I bought over here. And I always think I'm going to stop over here because it's less. It doesn't matter how much less it is. It's a psychological phenomenon. If I can save money on something, I will. What do you think Amazon.com is about? What do you think eBay is about? It's about saving money over going over to somebody who has a brick and mortar establishment that has to pay for the brick and mortar. That's why people do that. And so right now, the only thing that retailers have that is to their benefit is that there they are. They're convenient to you. You're driving by. If I need a mandolin slicer, I can go to the kitchen store. Boom, there they are. I know it's going to be in there. They probably got 7 of them, different types, different sizes. So I can do that. But they've lost a lot of the ability. A lot of the market has gone to online and stuff. So they're squeaking by on a very, very narrow margin. And now we want to jump on and ride that narrow margin for a few more dollars so that government can blow it out of a cannon. Why do we want to do that?
Because they're going to need a bunch of new, really high-priced bus stops that have artwork next to them.
Yes.
Okay, so there are things that you can do. You can send us an email if you wish to nosalestax@GrantsPass. We're not making any money off of this. Come on. And the other thing is that
we should be making money off of it.
I'm very sensitive to the idea, to the charge that the reason that we're telling people to come to this is just so we can make money off of it. We are not doing that.
How many years do you have to deliver the news to people for jack squat? Okay, to rationalize your motives.
Here's your answer.
Yeah, okay, but that's ridiculous. You don't have to do that.
It's the 7-headed beast. It's the 7 days of the week. It's 777. Okay, all right. Look, the other thing that you can do is you can feed back to us. Here's what my understanding is. Where have you heard, including in the ballot title, that this is a permanent tax? If And if you know, oh, Mr. Matthews, you don't understand economic development. You don't understand. It's not permanent. You send us an email and say, have you seen that this referred to as a permanent tax? This is permanent, buddies. This is permanent. Really?
Well,
You think this would pass if in the ballot title it said, "Are you in favor of a permanent tax?" No, it says, "Are you in favor of kittens? Are you in favor of sunshine? Are you in favor of?" Oh, by the way.
Yeah, and no, it first see what it does. It's written for the purpose of appealing to psychology. It says, "Hey, we're going to take these two tax burdens off you, and then we'll just put this little teeny tax burden on you at the bottom, which
But
you can
who wrote
avoid if
this?
you go shop somewhere else."
But nobody knows who wrote it. Even the guy that wrote it doesn't know who wrote it.
But listen, even if, especially if you're for the sales tax, please write us an email at nosalestax@grantspass.com and tell us why. Tell us what we're missing here.
Well, city government is starved of money. It's starved of money, Mike. They just don't have any money at all. And so now they're going to need more, and they need to jump on the bandwagon of stopping economic growth in their area just at the point at which it's starting to climb out of the hole. Oh, let's tax them.
Yeah.
Okay, more important question to ask, because we can talk about both sides of this. Well, you Weisenheimers, what in the world? From the 1920s or something? Just what solutions do you have? I mean, first of all, we're not your $1 million staff that you're now paying for inside Grants Pass City. But the other, okay, so what solutions do you have for the jail, for the city, and for law enforcement, and for the fire, which they don't talk much about the fire, do they? Because if this property tax was stopped, where's the fire department get their money? Okay, didn't do a lot of talking about that. But where would you get the money? What creative solutions, as Simon Harris said today? I don't like this. However, it's a creative solution. However, I don't like it. However, I'm glad that they're looking at a creative solution. However, I don't like it. I mean, it was all in one sentence. Classic Simon Hare. Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, he started out saying that, this doesn't seem like this would be a very good idea because it's not the right time for it and all this kind of stuff. And then by the end of it, he's like the other, and as Dale said, it is classic Simon. He will start a paragraph, and at the beginning of it, I'm staunchly on this side, and at the end of it, he's staunchly on that side. And so he's covered all the bases.
Because
and
later he can say to you,
yes.
Well, I told you that. Yeah, but you told us both.
Yes, and so I was asking Dale before the show. I said, Dale, I started noticing this early on with Simon. He does this thing where he plays both sides of the thing, and so. Do you think that he has a strategy to do that? Has he figured out what he's going to say on that particular topic and knows that he's going to cover both sides of it so that he's covering both bases? Is he doing this as a conscious thing, or is this just something that he is just the way that he is, the way that he would talk on any topic?
You already know my answer. What's my standard answer about lunkheads? Is it conspiracy or lunkheads? Always go with lunkheads.
Yeah, but you know what? But we know that Simon is not a lunkhead, and that's the part that throws kind of a wrench into that theory.
That's true.
That somehow Simon is a lunkhead. Simon's not a lunkhead. So
no, he's
Simon. Not. Simon is fairly articulate, although sometimes he needs a dictionary.
Yeah, that's true. I find that's just anecdotal evidence. Antidotal evidence that you're
antidotal, yes, because if you have the sickness, you need the antidote, and
that's right.
And once you have a couple of those antidotes,
I think he probably
had the antidotal.
Probably just has done this all of his life, talking about both sides of every issue, and it kind of makes him look a little smart. It's very similar and corollary to Cheryl Walker lying about things. If she's got to reach into her bag of tricks and pull out something. I interviewed 1,000 people last night. No, you didn't. She'll say that. She has no qualms about it. She'll make it up if she has to.
Yeah.
Just raised that way, probably. Not him, though. Everybody says nice things about his family and etc. This is a politics show. We can talk about that. Cheryl's going to talk about the patriotism of her family. So, anyway, it was a short weekly business session today with the county commissioners. There was just one little tiny item. It started off with public comment, and we'll play that back for you. We mostly talked about the taxes and about what's happening on Friday. Friday at 3 o'clock in courtroom 4. You can come, and the hilarity will ensue. Mike, what kind of hilarity do you expect on Friday at 3 o'clock, sir?
I don't expect any hilarity. I just expect that it's going to probably be a very short thing where the judge either looks at this and says that, you guys are a bunch of whack jobs. This thing's going through as written, or he's going to say, you're right. This violates the Constitution in the manner that you suggest that it does. And so what does he do at that point? Does he kick it back to the city and say, hey, you guys blew it? Or,
well, who will receive it, because no one knows who wrote it?
Yeah, but they know who wrote the thing. I think we delivered it to enough people. Certainly, we hit the mark because we fired a bunch of them out there. So
we will do everything that we can to keep them accountable. We may be full of beans, and probably are a lot of the time, but we're going to do what we can, even though we're exploring areas that we have not yet been, and we will pass along the information to you and take in your feedback and then make it available to as many people as we can. You just tell us what you think. Tell us what we think too. We need that. Tell us what you think, and we'll be happy to watch these characters and see that they're held accountable. Thank you very much.